Hey guys, welcome to another season preview. Today we are doing the Cairns Taipans from up north, and it is brought to you by Ryan at Astute Newstead. Get in contact with him if your interest rates are above 6.2%, or you're looking to get into a new home. He'll get you the best rates, and mate, the Cairns Taipans, the guys from up north. Mate, what's happening in the world of Cairns?
It's a brand new team. It's a whole new world in the north. They've moved on from some of the experiments from last season or the last few seasons, like Taj McCall. Paddy Miller's gone; he was solid last year. They've retained Taran Armstrong, who had a cup of tea with the NBA in summer league, and there were rumours swirling that he might have not been coming back, but he's back. He's good to go, and Adam Ford has given him the keys to the city. This is his team this year.
Yeah, mate. Look, Cairns is more of a town in my eyes. So, Taran Armstrong, the keys to the town, um, mate. And we've got that DUI to talk about as well.
Absolutely. Jackson McCoy has come in uh, out of Sydney. He's touted as the backup to Taran Armstrong. Now, we know Ford, he's a bit of a moneyball kind of recruiter. He wants to play fast. And he says this Jackson McCoy is going to be the second coming of Taran Armstrong. And when Taran goes to the bench, he's going to push the pace. And he's been living in the fast lane and all of a sudden been pulled over, a few too many beers under his belt. And all of a sudden he's got a 8-game suspension with a few of those suspensions suspended, and he's going to miss the first 2 rounds of the season. So he's coming in at 58K with what appears to be a clearly defined role if we can squint and ignore the signing of Kyle Adnam. Uh, Look, is this guy, we're going to get a couple of looks at him before a price rise. This guy might be someone to look at for a real cheap cash cow.
Yeah, mate. He's somebody I'm excited to look at. You did talk about that schedule first.
Mm,
How many looks do we get at him? What's the schedule like?
yeah, look, Cairns, oh, they're starting on a single like everyone is, followed by a single, but then they have 3 out of 4 doubles between round 3 and round 6 before it gets a bit sparse again. And you're only showing the first 12 rounds there on the screen, but they come home with a wet sail like a couple of other teams. So look, Cairns, unlike Sydney and some of those other teams that we've talked about, have a lot of really well-priced players. There's been almost complete turnover. Ford's fun factory or whatever he calls it up there, he goes and poaches every player that no one wants. So we've got a lot of guys coming in with some pretty low price tags, and um, look, I'm going to be padding out my bench and some of my starting positions at some point throughout the season with a lot of Cairns players. So probably worth talking about our top picks. I think
Yeah,
there's a
look,
unanimous
and
one.
yeah, their top pick,
Mm,
arguably, not even
can't
arguably,
argue.
their best player is sub 200K. He's their
Mm,
top pick. They have cleared house with anyone. Oh, I don't want to be too rough. They've cleared house with anyone with talent, and they've got Taran Armstrong there, and he is an absolute knock it out of the park starter. And I have no idea why he's only 20% owned.
mm. He's definitely in one of my first builds, and likely will be still there at the start of the season. But you're right. They've replaced talent with Taran. That's what they're playing with now, and I am just so excited to have a guy who we know the ball's going to be in his hand, who showed an improved knack of scoring the basketball last season, and who we know from his college days is an absolute dime dropping passer. Although that didn't show to full display last year, which is hard when you're around guys like Taj McCall.
Yeah, I think like the addition is subtraction
Yep.
because he is going to have the ball in his hands. Actually, watching this guy, he's huge. He's
Mm.
fast. He pushes the pace. He can shoot it and can pass it. There's It's sad to think that my biggest concern is when he drops a dime, will the other players put it in?
Yeah, we've talked about this a bit. the guys that Adam Ford has gone out to get, uh, and essentially we're talking the three imports that are coming in, none of them strike you as lights out elite scorers or shooters. Um, and I got the same concern. When he passes the ball to these guys under the bucket, are they going to be able to A, catch it, and B, put it in?
Yeah, and that's the only thing. But if Taran gets frustrated in the way that Supercoach is, for those old heads, maybe a bit cautious, maybe waited a year from ducking over from fantasy. Doesn't matter if
Yep.
you miss.
Mm, no, but it does matter if you turn it over. Uh, should we run through these three new imports? Because they're probably going to
Do it.
be relevant to some of the rosters at some point.
Do it. We've got Pedro Bradshaw, mate. What do you think?
I don't know yet if I'm going to vote for Pedro. Uh, so Pedro's come across tough defensive player. That's a reputation he comes with, and can apparently hit the three ball, having shot 40% from deep last season and 42% the season before. He's played a little bit in the NBA Summer League with the Charlotte Hornets, averaging 12, 4, and 2 in about 16 minutes. So he's been around. Ford says the plan for Pedro is to greatly increase the volume of his output. So that's a positive sign for anyone who thinks they're going to own him. He's about 6'7". Had an interesting college career, but look, there's no one else playing that sort of position, so he's going to have opportunity, and it's going to be up to him to perform.
Yeah. Look, one of the other guys I'm looking at is big Tanner Groves, and he
Hmm.
screams hometown hero. He's a guy that I want to get behind because his beard is, for lack of a better word, spectacular.
Well, it's very spectacular when it's compared to yours, mate. But this is exactly what you expect out of a big hunk of a white guy. He's there to set screens. He's 6'9", bit of a pit bull of a bloke. Played in Germany last year with not great stats, but he did only play the 19 minutes a game. So this is one for our Blitz watch list. But probably the import that comes with the biggest hopes for Cairns is Rob Edwards. So he's a pretty big shooting guard, which is going to give Cairns a pretty tall backcourt with Taran, who's I think about 6'6" himself.
Yeah.
Um, Heap of G League experience, averaged 12 points, 4 rebounds a game across 3 seasons in the G League. And we've touched on this through some of the pods and on Twitter and X, how G League stats translate. And it's almost been a bit of a parody from a lot of the examples we've looked at. So these don't really jump off the page at me and make me think he's going to be great. So there's some more Blitz watch list to check out with these three.
Yeah, I do have a look at it, and like somebody has to get stats for this
Yeah.
team. And after going through these, you're right. Tanner Groves is going to drop in price dramatically because he's
Mhm.
gonna get some blocks. 6'9", 6'10" from memory, and he's going to set those screens and hopefully make everybody around him better. But that's not going to translate to Supercoach stats. One I am looking at is Kyron Galloway.
Mm.
Coming in, he's somebody that I definitely owned last year. I think that he's one that owned for you. I'm expecting an increased role up here now that he's gone to Cairns, and that's probably the reason he went to Cairns. And I'm not seeing these 277k guys take away from a role like Kyron. I think Kyron is going to be starting. I think Kyron's going to be doing a lot of the work up there.
Yeah, look, I'm high on Kyron. I don't think he's going to be starting. I think he'll be more of a sixth man role. I think they're going to go with, the big import at the 5 and probably Sam Wardenberg at his natural 4
Mm.
position. I think Kyron will come in. He'll play some 4, some 3, maybe some small ball 5. And he has come to Cairns from Adelaide with the lure and the hope of a bigger role and more minutes. And I think he's definitely going to find it there. They're not overly deep. Um, so he's definitely a guy who can probably play out as a bit of a cash cow, although he did get a bit of a kick in price at the end of last season. But I really like the fit.
Yeah, mate. And yeah, look, while we're talking about cash cows, Kyron was one of my top picks, regardless of his price, because honestly, if you're not interested in the imports, everybody sub 200k on this team.
For sure.
You've spoken about Jackson McCoy, obviously not in the first couple games. But
Mhm.
who else do you have there?
The other guy I've got an eye on is big AK Gak. Now, we were absolutely disgusted last year in the big man rotation that Ford just punished us with. Uh, we never knew who was going to pop up, but the times that AK Gak did get his opportunity, he was a very high points per minute Supercoach player. Um, he's a big guy on a team that really lacks a lot of height. So this is one that I'm probably going to be keeping a very close eye on, and at that price, when Cairns' schedule gets juicy, I may consider him as a backup center.
Yeah, I don't mind it. And yeah, it is a really nice price there at 136K.
Mm,
Um, Mate, after talking about cash cows, we go into our red flags and our fool's gold.
yeah.
We've spoken enough about the imports that we think are not worth 277K. But I've actually added one during the show, and it's
Mm,
just that Jackson McCoy, DUI, obviously not going to be playing to start off with. And who's going to take those minutes? I think it's probably Statman or Antonio or Kyle Adnam. These guys might give you the illusion of the fact that they're going to have a price rise. We need
mhm.
to know that McCoy's back and how high Ford is on McCoy, and just know that we probably shouldn't add them at about the point that McCoy's coming back, which is where the schedule starts to get a little bit better for these guys.
Yeah, look, great point. Jonah Antonio's one that Ford has flagged. You guys, you haven't seen the best of him yet. He's due for a bigger role, but I still don't see it. I don't even know where he fits. Like he's a 3 point specialist whose game is not super coach friendly. He scores the ball in bunches, but, but if he's not on, he's not on. He doesn't contribute across the rest of the stat sheet, and I think they're going to be relying on their imports. Rob Edwards will lock up that two spot. Um, yeah, he could be fool's gold. You may get an early look at these guys because of injury, because of suspension. Um, but yeah, I don't see any of those ones you mentioned really being relevant.
Yeah, it just screams a trap for me. Um,
Mhm.
Mate, just quickly, what do we need to see from the preseason from Cairns?
See, the good thing about the preseasons is Jackson McCoy is allowed to play those games. They don't count towards his suspension. So we will get a look at what we expect Cairns to be throughout the blitz. Um, I just want to see the rotations, and I want to see if the guys can put the ball in the bucket, because I'm really hoping Taryn is dropping, you know, 14 points, 6 to 7 assists, and a couple of steals each game. And I'm going to be yelling at my TV if there's guys missing bunnies and impacting on Taryn's stats, especially since we're the only ones that seem to own him at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy that Taron Armstrong at this price is kind of a pod,
Yeah, I'm all for it. We got him.
mate. He's on the front cover. You've listened to an Insight Fantasy Sports podcast short. Cheerio.